Welcome to the Copperfield Electric Podcast. We are launching a deep dive today into one of the most practical and I think often overlooked home electrical upgrades, installing a sub panel specifically targeting the garage.
That's right. I mean, if you're using your garage for anything more than just parking these days, maybe it's a home gym now or a serious workshop or even just, storage, but with things like a big freezer, you're really putting stress on your whole electrical system. Our sources definitely confirm that the modern power demand in these secondary spaces, it's just shot way past what typical older main service panels were built for.
Exactly. I think pretty much every homeowner knows that feeling, right? You plug in something big like an air compressor, maybe a table saw, or even just a fast EV charger, and you see the lights dim, or, uh-oh, you trip a breaker. That frustration, that's basically the first sign your main panel is starting to, well, sweat a bit under the load.
Yeah, it is. So our mission in this deep dive, really, is to pull out the key benefits of installing a subpanel. We want you to walk away understanding why this isn't just about adding a few extra outlets. It's fundamentally about improving your home's capacity, how power gets distributed, and crucially, the overall safety picture.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with, I guess, the most obvious benefit. Increased electrical capacity. This is the big necessity, right? We hear it all the time. Someone's ready for an upgrade, maybe an EV charger, and they look inside their main panel and it's full, like 0 slots left.
That is the literal wall, that many people hit. A subpanel gives you that absolutely vital extra space. Now, it's important to understand you're not necessarily increasing the total amount of power coming into your house from the street, but you are essentially redistributing it more effectively and freeing up those precious slots in the main panel. Think of it like opening up a whole new section, a block of specialized circuits, just for that high demand area like the garage.
So this becomes really essential when you want to add specific heavy-duty things. Like say you're installing a dedicated 240-volt circuit for a serious welder, or maybe you need a few separate 20-amp circuits just for power tools in a workshop. Without a subpanel, running those heavy loads all the way back to an already jam-packed main panel, well, it might not even be possible space-wise.
Precisely. Or think about adding appliances, a second fridge or a deep freezer out there, setting up a proper workshop. Even sophisticated outdoor lighting systems, you need that dedicated capacity. And we're seeing this highlighted more and more now with electric vehicles. An EV charger alone might need, 40, 50 amps? Maybe more. You just can't safely pull that kind of continuous draw from an already overburdened general household circuit. It's asking for trouble.
Okay, now this leads into something I find really interesting. Improved power distribution and management. It's not just more space, it's about using it smarter, more efficiently. The source material mentions electricity flowing more evenly. Can you break down the technical side of that for us a bit?
Sure, yeah. This gets into a concept called voltage drop. Basically, electricity loses a little bit of its push, its voltage, as it travels down a wire due to resistance. So if you have a device way out in the garage, far from your main panel, and you run a really long circuit wire to power it, the longer that wire, the more potential voltage drop you get, which means the tool or appliance at the far end might not get the full, clean power it needs to run optimally or even safely.
So it's like the electricity is getting a bit tired on its long journey out to the garage.
That's a good way to put it, actually,
Yeah.
yes. So by installing a subpanel closer to where the power is actually being used, like right there in the garage, for all those tools you create shorter, dedicated circuits, this localized delivery system drastically reduces that voltage drop. It ensures cleaner, more consistent power right where you need it. That's the efficiency gain. You're creating dedicated express lanes for those high-demand devices instead of making them share the slow lane with everything else in the house.
Ah, okay, that makes the better circuit management idea much clearer. You're kind of isolating the heavy hitters.
Absolutely. Load isolation is a great term for it. The subpanel takes that heavy, specialized load from the garage and keeps it separate from your regular household circuits, the lights, the kitchen appliances, etc. This more balanced electrical load reduces the overall strain not just on the breakers, but on the wiring itself, both in the main panel and out to the garage.
But hang on, quick question. If the main panel is totally full, wouldn't it sometimes be better or maybe safer to just bite the bullet and do a full main panel upgrade instead of just tapping into it for a subpanel? When is a subpanel maybe not the right move?
That's a really crucial distinction to make. A full main panel replacement or upgrade is usually necessary when the total service amperage coming into the house, say you only have 100 amp service, is just flat out insufficient for modern living. Or Maybe the panel itself is really old, outdated technology,
Mhm.
maybe even known to be unsafe, like certain brands from decades ago. However, if you have, say, perfectly adequate 200-amp service coming in, but it's just the physical slots inside the panel that are full, or if the new heavy electrical load is going to be pretty much exclusively out in the garage, then the sub-panel is often the most cost-effective and strategically sound choice.
Gotcha. So if the kitchen circuits are fine, your HVAC is fine, but it's really just that new beast of a compressor or welder in the garage that's pushing things over the edge.
Yeah.
Then the sub panel is like targeted relief right where you need it.
Exactly. It's more like surgical intervention versus a full system transplant. And there's another point here, too, related to older panels. Many main panels installed, say, before the year 2000, weren't really designed with modern heat loads in mind. When you try to cram too many high-draw circuits onto an older main panel, the internal operating temperature can climb. That heat can lead to premature failure of breakers, or worse. The subpanel helps by offloading that garage-specific heat stress, managing it separately.
Wow. Okay. That really underscores the importance of the safety component. This is where it gets, as you said, really interesting for homeowners because this isn't just about, the annoyance of tripped breakers. It's about actual structural safety, potentially preventing fires.
It's absolutely non-negotiable. Safety is paramount here, and a subpanel enhances it in a few key ways. First, just by organizing the load better and giving heavy use items their own dedicated circuits, you drastically cut the risk of overloading any single circuit. And overload is, a primary cause of electrical fires. Second, a professionally installed subpanel ensures everything out there, especially in a workshop with metal tools and equipment, has proper grounding. That's critical.
And I guess when you bring in a professional, like a licensed electrician, you're also ensuring the whole installation meets current electrical codes, right? That seems like a place where DIY attempts could go wrong pretty quickly, leading to dangerous situations.
Exactly. Code compliance is huge. It means the wire gauge is correct for the amount of current, proper surge protection might be considered or required, all connections are tight and secure. All those little details add up to significantly reducing those fire hazards we mentioned. It creates a clean, managed, safe entry point for all the power needed in that specific zone, the garage.
Right. And while we're on the topic of long-term value and safety, we should definitely touch on flexibility for future expansion.
Yes, this is absolutely key to why it's considered a smart investment. A subpanel is basically future-proofing that part of your property. Let's say today, maybe you just need power for a couple of extra tools and some better lighting in the garage. Fine. But what about next year? Maybe you decide to finally get that electric vehicle and need a level 2 charger installed. Or perhaps you're thinking longer term, maybe converting the garage or part of it into a small apartment, what they often call an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit.
Oh, yeah, those ADUs are popping up everywhere now. Definitely a trend.
They are. And having a subpanel already in place provides the immediate capacity in the built-in structure to add those major circuits later on much more easily. You avoid needing a really costly and time-consuming full-service panel replacement down the road just to accommodate that new need.
Yeah.
If you foresee any significant electrical addition happening out in that garage space, having that subpanel infrastructure already there makes the next phase of work much simpler, faster, and frankly, less expensive.
Okay, so we've really established the why. It boosts capacity, it makes power distribution more efficient, reduces strain, enhances safety, and sets you up for the future. Let's pivot a little bit now to the mechanics, the how. What does the installation process actually physically look like? How does it connect?
Okay, mechanically speaking, a subpanel connects back to your main electrical panel using what's called a feeder cable. This isn't just regular wire, it's a heavy-duty cable, specifically rated to safely carry a calculated amount of power, maybe 60 amps, maybe 100 amps, depends on the need from the main panel's overall capacity. That power then feeds into the subpanel box itself, and from there it gets distributed out to the new additional circuit breakers within that subpanel.
I see. So it's not like you're just splitting an existing circuit from the main panel and extending it. It's getting its own dedicated high-capacity supply line directly from the source, essentially.
Precisely. That's the key. It provides those truly new circuits without overloading or negatively impacting the performance of the circuits that remain in the main panel. That's because a crucial part of the process is the load calculation, ensuring the main panel and the service coming into the house can actually handle the new total combined draw safely. It's a high-precision installation requiring careful planning.
Which really brings us back to something you touched on earlier. This is definitely not a weekend DIY project for most people, is it? We've all heard, unfortunately, some horror stories about homeowners trying to tackle high voltage work like this themselves.
Oh, absolutely not. Let me be really clear on this. It's a critical safety warning. Electrical work, especially involving panels and high amperage feeders, deals with complex safety codes, requires very precise washing techniques. Proper grounding is essential. It should always be handled by a qualified, licensed, and insured electrician. Always. Professionals ensure everything is calculated correctly, that the feeder cable is sized properly for the load and distance, that all the connections are torqued correctly, and that everything meets local code requirements. Honestly, it's about protecting your home, your property, and most importantly, your family's safety. Don't take chances with this.
That emphasis on professional expertise naturally leads us to the who. When you're considering a specialized safety-critical installation like a subpanel, you absolutely need a service provider who meets those stringent standards, licensed, insured, experienced. For our listeners here in Southern California, for instance, you look towards companies like Copperfield Electric as a prime example of the kind of professional, reliable service that's required for this type of crucial upgrade.
Right. And when you're choosing, look for key differentiators. Reliability is huge, of course, but also those credentials we mentioned. Fully licensed, properly bonded, sufficiently insured. And things like background-checked electricians. That provides a significant level of peace of mind when someone's working inside your home on its core infrastructure.
And another important factor, especially with electrical work, is availability. Problems don't always happen 9 to 5, so many reputable providers, like Copperfield Electric, being a family-owned Orange County business, for example, offer 24/7 emergency electrical services that can be absolutely vital when something goes wrong unexpectedly.
Exactly. And their expertise typically covers the whole range of residential electrical needs, not just subpanels, but general maintenance, full electrical panel upgrades if needed, and increasingly common things like EV charger installations. Having a company with a broad service area, covering places like Irvine, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, etc., is also convenient.
Okay, so let's quickly recap the main takeaways for you, the listener, from our deep dive today. Installing a subpanel in your garage is a really powerful enhancement for your home's electrical system. It gives you that needed extra capacity for circuits. It streamlines power management by reducing issues like voltage drop and localized heat stress. And it gives you crucial flexibility for future upgrades. Often, it means you can avoid a much larger, potentially unnecessary full main panel replacement down the line.
Right. And this brings up a final point for you to maybe mull over. The whole question of home value. Now, we can't put an exact dollar figure on it, of course, but the source material we looked at consistently frames this type of installation as a really smart long-term investment in your home's fundamental electrical infrastructure. It prevents future headaches, it makes your home significantly more functional for modern needs, definitely safer, and it future-proofs it for those high-demand additions we talked about, like EVs or potential ADUs. It just makes sense.
Absolutely. So use this knowledge. When you're looking at that crowded main service panel, or when you're dreaming up that perfect workshop or functional garage space, think about the power needs. Ensuring your electrical system is robust, modern, and capable is maybe one of the most invisible yet fundamentally important renovations you can make. Don't let your home's potential be held back by an outdated or overloaded electrical system.